Let's get on with subject number 9. We're getting into the more in-depth stuff now where you can actually practice what you've been learning with the NLP. So this is all about rapport building. This is a fantastic skill when it comes to sensory acuity because it's going to help you land that job. It's going to help you convert people into paying clients. It's going to help you with your own self-esteem, your own confidence. And remember, this is a practice. So you're going to make mistakes. I've been doing this for nearly 10 years, and sometimes I think, oh gosh, what did I do that made that go so pear-shaped? And yes, there are people out there that can do this just naturally, and it's like, oh, I just wish that skill was so natural. It will come better and better and better as you practice it more and more and more. So remember, rule number 1 of everything in this world, fuck this up, because then we can only get better at doing it. So let's move along. Sensory acuity is the key to building rapport in communication. So we'll go over what it is, how it builds rapport, and how to train your skills so that way you can build up your sensory acuity. You're going to begin to notice certain things that people do and you're like, wow, that person is so not self-aware or not aware of those around them. Perhaps you'll even start to understand that certain people, they just don't listen. But you will also learn how to get into their structure of reality, so perhaps they will listen. So this is all about custom. Whoopsie. This is all about custom interactions. Rapport building comes from learning your skills and communicating through sensory acuity. It's a powerful skill form. It's a foundation of effectiveness and interpersonal connection. You've come across those people that just seem to get along with everybody, and that's because they can do real-time changes within themselves to go within the sensory acuity of somebody else. This is a fantastic skill set for hypnotherapy, for coaching, for therapeutic and client-based roles. Actually, it's fantastic for anything really, but those higher level stuff, it's really, really good within the therapy realms. So the roots of sensory acuity in communication comes from the modeling pioneers like Milton Erickson, who had the ability to tune into subtle changes in clients, and that helped develop the NLP realm. So it's not just about what people are saying, it's about noticing their body, their changes, the tone going up and down. Sensory acuity is the core and is the art of noticing moment to moment, second by second, the finest art of unconscious shifts within our physical body. How is your person that you're trying to communicate with changing in those micro moments? And these subtle cues give you live feedback into the systems and gauging your communication of how this person is responding, interacting, or not interacting. It's a huge change in their physiology, in their voice, in their breathing, in their eye movement, their skin color, their energy, in everything that is happening around here in the physical realm. So what is sensory acuity? Sensory acuity means developing heightened awareness of the 5 senses as they occur in real time. So your main 3 ones that will always be present, number 1 is visual, noticing eye movement. It's really fantastic to learn eye movement, and we'll go into that in future modules with the NLP, and especially if you're doing playing poker, that's for sure. But noticing eye movement and whether somebody is being sporadic with their eye movement, relaxed, whether they're looking down and not really listening, fully engaged with you, the slight head tilt. You can also notice the color shifts in skin tones and the changes in posture, especially if somebody is blushing or beginning to sweat. We then have auditory, hearing changes in pitch, pace, volume, or tone of the voice. There are different ways to speak to get the message across, and when you get onto those cues, you can change up the pace of what's happening in real time. So for example, there is a technique known as pace leading. So if somebody is yelling and screaming at you, if you can match the pace in a tone that is completely matching, but then change your words that are completely opposite, where you're like, I understand you're frustrated, let's sort this out. And then as that person begins to hear what you're actually saying, because your tone is matching, your volume is matching, but your words aren't matching, They begin to listen because they're like, hang on, what's going on here? And then that's when you can control that tone and bring them down. And then we have the kinesthetic. You can observe the physical tension or relaxation and the shifts in energy or presence. You know when you've lost someone when you're doing something, whether it's a sales pitch or an interview or, perhaps a public speaking, and you know when you've lost them. When you practice your sensory acuity skills, you will be able to bring them back. I do a lot of retreats, and because I work in mental health, sometimes people get triggered by some of the things I say, and I didn't know that that was a trigger for them. So what I do is I allow them to be triggered. I listen to the auditory response. I know when is the time to step in to match the volume and the tone so that I can then pace them and then lead them into a better area. And some people get on their high horses and they're like, no, 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 no. Okay, no worries. I'm going to let them be on that high horse because I'm not going to match that energy. But eventually they start coming down. I can match that tone and energy, and then we can negotiate with that open mind. Because when the mind is too far in the future, it's not open. When it's too far in the past, it's not open. It has to be present, and it has to be of a balanced and level energy. So with sensory acuity, you have to practice sensory acuity. It allows for communication to tune in what's happening beyond the words. It's about being present, observant, and open to making real-time adjustments to enhance connection. You can pick up on things that are way before they're even happening when you start absolutely nailing these responses. So how does sensory acuity build rapport? So rapport is a sense of trust. It's a feeling of safety, and it's a mutual understanding that allows people to communicate fluidly and with ease. That's why sometimes when somebody's talking, you would have told that you would have done this with your partner or even your friends or something like that, where you've told them something over and over and over and over, and then they come along and say, oh, blah blah said this, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been saying that for how long? And that's only because that person was in rapport with that person. They felt trust, they felt safety. There was an understanding that they could communicate and be heard on that same sensory level. So sensory acuity contributes to rapport in several different ways. It's not that you were right or wrong or that you were the person that they would go to. It's just that they felt trust and they felt safety in that moment with that person. So here are some of the ways that you can start to practice your skills for sensory acuity. So mirroring and matching subtly and respectfully. So you can absorb someone and generally align with another person's body language, their tone or their tempo and their speech. And we unconsciously say things like, I see you, I'm with you, oh, I feel where you're coming from. This aligns with signals of safety and trust, creating an unconscious comfort for the other person. If you're mirroring somebody's physical reactions, so for example, when I'm working with a client, they may sit back in their chair and cross their arms. So this is a representation of, I'm just going to cause a block here so that way, because I'm not quite sure if I trust you. I'm starting to lose trust here. Now, of course, there are exceptions to the rule if somebody's got a bad back, but we don't play those small statistics. We're playing the big stuff here. We're playing in the big league. So if I have a client that does this, I'm not going to go, oh, I'm going to match you. I'm literally going to sit back in my chair. I'm going to softly cross my arms lowly so that they know that what I'm saying is true, but I'm still open for negotiation. I'm not blocking them. I'm still open for negotiation. So mirror and match your client when they're speaking or those that are around you, so that way they can feel like you're in rapport with them. Real-time responsiveness. This is an absolute must. When we track someone's non-verbal responses with sensory acuity, we can adapt our approach moment to moment. So for example, if a client begins to tense slightly or blink more rapidly, or you notice the lump in the throat, we may pause or even revert the question to a softer approach, showing them that we are truly listening to them so that they are heard and they are also seen. You've seen it yourself before where somebody has cracked a joke and then nobody's laughed, or one person's laughed, or somebody's laughed at a lot of a delay. This is usually a response that somebody's either not listening, or they didn't get it, or there's something else going on. Okay. So when it comes to those real-time responsiveness, you have to be on the ball. You have to practice this. You have to get onto it and have the energy for it as well. Access to deeper communication. This is the third part. So people don't always verbalize what they're experiencing, but their body often does. So for example, I can get clients in my hypnotherapy clinic and they can seem all strong and ready to go, yet their foot will be twitching, like they'll be just jiggering it a little bit. And when I look at that, I'm like, right, they're jiggering their foot. Is it on the left side or the right side? This is a bit of psychometry, body psychometry here. So if it's on the left side, it's usually a feminine thing, like I'm not feeling safe. If it's on the right side, it's a masculine thing, like you're pushing me beyond my boundaries and I just kind of want to run away from this. So this allows me to shift my attention and questions to get the client to feel like I'm with them, I'm on their team, where this is a team effort and we're ready to help you. So their body often displays these little cues, whether it's a tiny scratch, a twirl of the hair, a shifting of the shoulders. And sometimes they agree, like the body will agree with what you're saying, and it's a signal. And sometimes it'll be a disagreement. You can ask somebody a question and they are saying yes, but their head is saying no. And when you can notice those particular cues, you can understand whether there's a bit of deceptiveness going on or malevolence in the background. Secondary gain as such, when somebody's like, yeah, we can totally do that. Or yes, we can do that. Absolutely. That would be good, so much fun. And if their head's going no, but their mouth is going yes, then I understand that there's something going on where either they don't want to, they don't feel safe, they're not trusting, this is something that's outside of their comfort zone. Whatever it is, you can see these physical shifts going on and they don't match the tone. I read I read a saying once that said, if I remove the sound of your voice and base you on your actions, I have 100% of the truth every single time. So that's what you can do when you're accessing those deeper communications. You're understanding whether someone is really in agreement, whether they're feeling discomfort, whether they're interested or confused. You've spoken to people before and that person has been on their phone. There's a bit of a delayed response and they'll go, oh yeah, totally. And you think, you didn't hear that full conversation. So this allows your conversation to go deeper with more trust and for you to make those real-time changes to get that person on board. Practice observation without evaluation. That's how you train your sensory acuity. So when I'm working with at retreats and stuff, people want to know, how did I know that stuff? But if I'm just communicating in a group at a conference or something, I'm not going to tell them, look, it's because you were doing this, you gave this cue away. If I'm playing a poker game, I'm not going to give away my tricks of the trade. So if I have a client that's in my room and let's just say their right foot is twitching, I know that's the male response of, I want to run away. I'm not feeling really comfortable with this conversation and you're pushing on my morals and my boundaries. So I can notice this. And I'm not going to say to the client, oh, because you're twitching your right foot, you're doing blah, blah, blah. No, that's not how it works. I'm going to notice this and then switch up the conversation to a little bit of a softer approach, or then ask them, how would they approach this? Because that's going to give your client the control back. And then they're going to feel a lot more safe and they're going to give you that trust back. So simply notice what's happening without labeling something, what is good or what is bad, what is, uncomfortable or inconvenient. We just train our sensory acuity whilst watching for those patterns, listening for the cues. One of the great ways of doing this is grabbing yourself a coffee and then going and sitting in a food court in a mall and just watching people as they walk by. There are times where I've seen people that have been in arguments and I think to myself, she thinks she's winning, but she's not. He is. And there's been other people that have been in relationships and I've just engaged the sensory acuity then I've said to my partner, look, this is going to sound really horrible, but I don't think they're going to last more than 5 or 6 years with the way that they're treating each other. There was a particular incident with one of my friends, and his missus did some stuff at a party, and I noticed it. Anyway, when it gotten into the early hours of the morning, I approached him and I asked him some stuff, and he's like, "Oh well, we've been on the outs for a little while. I haven't really told anyone," and this was like 5, 6 years ago now. And it got him to open up because I noticed those cues, because it's something that he had been harboring deep down inside, felt that he couldn't talk to anyone. And I was the furthest from his friends list that he would have spoken to. And because I noticed those things, I could just softly approach the subject at the right time in the right place. So watch for patterns. Does someone's breathing change when you hit those certain topics? Do they glance away before answering specific types of questions? Do they shift? Perhaps they make an excuse to leave, like, oh, I've just got to go to the toilet, and then they don't actually come back. Use feedback loops as well. Try something that changes in your tone, your posture, or your question. So, for example, you may have asked a question, and then you're like, oh, hang on, that didn't come out correctly. Let me readjust that and just ask the question again. And watch for the change in people's responses. This loop gives you live feedback on your communication effectiveness. Be present about them. Be fully present and engage with your person that's in front of you. Distractions lose rapport in an instant, just like that. My best friend does it to me all the time, where I'll be talking to her and she'll just get on her phone and start texting somebody else. And what I did was I had to make a bit of a stand with her. And I said to her, look, if we're going out for dinner, the first person that answers their phone is paying for dinner. It's as simple as that. I knew it wasn't going to be me, because if you want to spend time with me and talking about what we're doing, then be fully engaged. Don't be distracted, because you're going to lose rapport, and then you're going to have those situations where you're like, you know what, why do I even bother? From awareness to rapport, micro adjustments in communication. It's okay to be yourself, but sometimes we have to be a chameleon in somebody else's world to help ourselves weave this fabric of society. We have to change it up as such. So Milton Erickson's genius lay in his ability to make micro adjustments in communication, second by second, based on what his client's body and tone were revealing. And that's what makes you the kind of person that can get those sales, who can get those clients, who can elevate your business or your own public speaking careers. Perhaps you just want to be able to speak a tiny little bit more fluently in a new culture. This is where the art of sensory acuity moves from being observational to transformational. When we communicate with someone while being highly attuned to their subtle cues, you speak not just to their mind, but to the entire experience of their being. This depth of presence naturally creates rapport, not through forced techniques, but through genuine connection, responsiveness, and a mutual respect. So let's move into the practitioner mindset formula. You can use this when you're getting sales, you can use this if you're a therapist, or you can use this in any scene to which you decide, you know what, I want to help this situation, and this person has said, look, I'm open and I'm ready. So the first step is belief, the second is leverage, then value, and then we go into the scale and evidence. So when it comes to belief, do what it takes to get the results to help out your client. Practice, know, improve, repeat. Practice, know, improve, repeat. The cycle just continues on and on and on. So when you have a client or a potential client as such, the first thing is the client must believe in themselves. They must believe that they can achieve the weight loss or the quit smoking or whatever it is. They must also believe in you as a professional. People look up to you as an authority figure or as a professional. And if you don't believe in you enough, then that's going to come out in your unconscious energies. And then that's going to communicate with your client very, very quickly. And they're going to lose that belief system. The client must also believe in the technique. They must be fully engaged and fully ready to jump in with both feet and nail the landing. The second thing is leverage. The client must have enough leverage to support their belief. to support what it is that's going on. So if they really want to quit smoking, they must have enough leverage, whether it's their health, finances, the future of their children, whatever it is, there must be enough leverage. The client must be willing to take another step. They must be willing to have you on as a team member, not an opposition, as a team member that wants them to succeed. The client must also feel value and worth and want the outcome. If there's no value in the final outcome, then there will be those times where they fall off the wagon and they just don't get back on again. Value and worth. This is where the practitioner mindset formula comes into play. It is so simple, yet it's a powerful process that helps you assess the client's readiness for change. It uncovers potential resistance and it determines how much support and energy will be required on your own part so that you can assist them. This is the kind of process that I use 100% of the time in any kind of client approach that I'm doing. So step number 1 is to gauge the commitment. Ask the client, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being, I will do absolutely anything to get these results, where are you right now? Now, you're only going to accept whole numbers. If somebody says I'm a 5.5, just simply say to them, pick a number. Is it 6 or is it 5? We don't do half jobs here. If the client responds with a 10, then just flip on over to step number 3. But if the number is less than a 10, we will continue on with the next step and explore their resistance. Step number 2, explore the upper bounds. Ask the client, what stops you from being one number higher where it's okay to fully solve this problem? This helps the client identify internal blocks, fears, and limiting beliefs. And because they're verbalizing it to you, it's also going to allow you to know exactly what it is that you need to assist your client with. This is what's holding them back from the full commitment. So, for example, if a client says, I'm a number 5, well, what stops you from being a 6 where it's okay to solve this problem? Their answer is going to highlight what needs to be addressed, resolved, and how to increase their motivation and their readiness to do this. Step number 3, explore the lower bounds. Explore the lower bounds. So ask, what stops you from being one number lower? But it's okay to keep living with this problem. This question brings about clients' values, their self-worth, their moral reasoning, and it may uncover some fears and identity beliefs of their deeper motivations. And again, for example, if they say they are 5, what stops you from being a 4 where it's okay to keep smoking or where it's okay to be at this weight when you don't want to be? This gives you insights and it helps you understand the emotional cost of staying stuck and can be used to build leverage for change. Many clients, when they come to me and I ask them these questions, they get their own enlightenment right there where they're like, oh, well, it's the money, it's the financial investment. And I'll be like, okay, so let's work with that. Let's eradicate that situation so that way you can achieve your results. Or they might go, oh, well, I've got this bung ankle and that's stopped me from running recently. So that's why I haven't been able to do my weight loss and my fitness. Okay, let's work with that. And this is why it works. Through this process, you gain insight into the client's motivation and resistance, their personal values and fears, the level of effort required from you as a practitioner, and it also helps establish rapport. It demonstrates your curiosity and care to go to that next level and empower your client to become more aware of their own inner dynamics and their own stories that they are looping on replay. So, an important reminder, do what it takes to help the client to get results, but only if they're ready. If their commitment is too low, they may not yet be prepared to move forward. And in that case, honor where they're at and revisit the process when they're ready. For me personally, if I get somebody who wants quit smoking with hypnosis, if you're not a 7 or 8 when you answer that question, then I'm probably not going to be taking you on for a client, or I'm going to give you some cognitive behavioral tasks to do before then. And this is basically because you haven't gotten to that point where you're like, you know what, this has been such a pain, I need to move on from it. So remember, when it comes to the NLP languaging and your sensory acuity skills, practice, know, improve, repeat. This approach gets more intuitive and effective with experience and time. I'll catch you in the next module. My name is Trish Crowell, and thank you for joining me here today. Bye.